In an earlier video, I reviewed the nature of anhedonia, which is a common symptom of depression and some other difficulties. And in fact, it also appears in much milder form, waxing and waning, in most people's lives. Anhedonia is not the same as low mood. It's the inability of things that used to lift your mood to give you any pleasure. So, for example, maybe biking used to make you happy. Now it doesn't. The second component of it is the loss of interest in doing those things in the future. So somebody invites you to go cycling tomorrow, and you don't feel like that would be fun. It doesn't pull you in any way. In a sense, anhedonia is the opposite or absence of enthusiasm. It's not so much sadness or misery, it's more blahness. If you want more information on the nature of anhedonia, check out that earlier video. And as always, do remember that this is not treatment or a substitute for care. If you're experiencing this problem, please seek help. I can't speak to anyone's particular situation, and the things I mention may not be helpful in your case. Nevertheless, in general, what do we recommend for people who experience anhedonia, maybe as a part of their depression? In these videos, I'm going to give 10 concepts that appear helpful in most cases. This time, the first 5. 1. Structure. One of the main reasons we do things is that we're interested. Oh, that sounds like fun. When you lose interest, that motive is gone, and you can become tremendously inactive. It's possible to sludge around the house and not get anything done, and then trash yourself for being lazy. Some people adopt a life that's so unengaging that feeling down or depressed isn't really a disorder. It's a normal reaction that other people would have too if they had to live the same way. Imposing structure on your life, bit by bit, is usually a helpful way to begin re-engaging. With some depressed clients, we start with the idea that you have to get out of the house at least once in every 24-hour period. Then we'll work on specific goals like buying groceries or answering emails, doing small chores, and so on. One of the biggest elements that seems to help is physical exercise. This is one of the most potent ways of overcoming many of the symptoms of depression, including anhedonia. Now, you do not need relentless structure. At 8 a.m. I do this, at 8:15 that, and at 8:30 this. That can make it feel more harassing than anything. It can be enough to schedule in advance one thing in the morning, one thing in the afternoon, and one thing in the evening. And it's best if some of those things are activities that you used to enjoy, even if they leave you kind of cold right now. 2. Inventory past pleasures. It's tempting to ask yourself, what do I feel like doing? What seems like it might be fun? Well, during anhedonia, the answer is probably nothing. So don't ask that. Sometimes the best predictor of the future is the past. So rather than looking forward, look behind you. What have you enjoyed in the past, even if right now it doesn't seem appealing and may even seem kind of stupid? Anhedonia is the inability to experience pleasure from activities that used to give it. So, what are those activities? Write them down. Now, some of those things may no longer be available. You liked walking in Central Park, but you no longer live in New York City. Fine, it's still a hint. And some things you liked may not have been the greatest idea. Getting wildly drunk and going home with strangers. Well, fine, you might not be doing that, but it may still remind you of other things you liked. Now, you're not going to slavishly use your list and do everything on it. Instead, you use it to help answer an important question. If I didn't have anhedonia and had a life I really enjoyed, what would I be doing? If all of this is about trying to get a better life, Great. What is that for you? You may not be able to get there in one step, and maybe some of that stuff won't happen. But during Anhedonia, you're lost in the woods. You need a compass point to give you direction. This vision of the future, informed by the past, can be that compass point, at least in part. 3. Get interest out of the driver's seat. Half of anhedonia is that future focus. Do I look forward to doing the stuff I used to like, or the things that my old self would have liked? The answer is, well, no. When life is going well, your interests might govern a lot of your decisions about what to do. But you're not interested in anything if you have anhedonia, so the temptation is do nothing. In effect, your interest is in the driver's seat. I just want to sit at home and feel safe, or avoid doing anything, or avoid challenging myself, or maybe I just want to watch YouTube videos. If your interest is in the driver's seat, that's what you'll do. But the result is you'll have a life that's withdrawn and uninvolving, and that perpetuates anhedonia. Why aren't you doing much? Well, because I have anhedonia and lack interest. Why do you have anhedonia and lack interest? In part, and sometimes in large part, because I'm not doing much. We think of the inactivity and withdrawal as the result of the low mood, but the inactivity and withdrawal help maintain the low mood. We need to break that cycle, and we do it by yanking our anhedonia out of the driver's seat. We'd love to get it out of the car completely, but we may not be able to do that, at least not at first. We need it at minimum in the passenger seat. Well, that begs the question, who's going to drive? Your intentions, your aspirations, what you know is a good idea, what your well self would be doing, what you need to get done. Oh, yeah, but I don't feel like it. Doesn't matter. Your feelings aren't driving. 4. Scale down with acceptance. Getting back into the things you used to like involves doing more, but usually not as much as your well self would really be doing. Maybe you used to like 10-hour hikes. Well, terrific, but right now you don't have the energy, and your force of will isn't strong enough to get you to do it anyway. So a 1-hour walk in the park is enough. It's in the direction of your usual interests, but it's not as far. Once you get moving, you can begin ramping up. But the key to getting started is to scale down. You used to be this incredibly social person, let's say, with 5 social events a day. Well, right now, maybe going out for coffee with one person is enough to start with. Now, some people resist this. It's just going to seem pathetic. This is nothing like what I used to be able to do. I'd go on a 100-kilometer bike ride, think nothing of it. Now I'm riding my bike for 15 minutes. Big deal. This only shows how far I've fallen in my life. Well, the task is not just to do things on a smaller scale. It's also to work at accepting that small scale, at least for now. And one way of doing this is to remind yourself that the plan is not to continue at this level. This is a step. It's not the destination. If you've ever had physiotherapy for an injury, it's very similar. You don't start by doing things the way you did before the injury. You start very small. After major surgery, we don't get out on the basketball court the next day. You practice walking as far as the bathroom, and it takes you 15 minutes. Now you might think, that's not very satisfying. And maybe it wouldn't be if that's as far as it goes. But it's a necessary step before you can go further. So most people need to do 2 things. Start small and easy, and have some patience. Know that the first step is not the goal. It's a step toward the goal. Oh, and there's a principle of goal setting here that's relevant. Frequency is more important than intensity or duration. repetition helps. So doing something 7 times is usually more valuable than doing the same thing once for 7 times as long. So when you push yourself, push the number of times you do something more than the difficulty of what you try. 5, don't watch how you feel. So, playing cards, hanging out with friends, rollerblading. Why are you doing this stuff? Well, some stuff you do because you have to, grocery shopping, filling out your taxes, but rollerblading, enjoyment is the whole point. So when you start doing this stuff, it's normal and tempting to say, am I liking it? Well, when you're trying to overcome anhedonia, we already know what the answer is likely to be. No. So why am I doing it? This is pointless. The key here is that enjoyment does not come back the moment you start doing something you used to like. If there was something you loved more than anything on earth, and you do it again after sitting in anhedonia for a while, it probably won't lift you. You need to accept that up front. Expect it. Yeah, I used to love walking on the seawall, but for the next while, I probably won't. I still need to do it. I used to love bird watching. Now, who cares? It's a bird. Big deal. Yeah, we're doing it anyway. The enjoyment tends to creep back in bit by bit, but almost never the first few times, and usually only slowly after that. It tends to come, but not if you're really looking for it. Maybe the 3rd or 4th time you go for a walk on the seawall, it's like kind of okay. You like it a bit, but you used to love it. So this tiny amount of enjoyment just seems like a mockery of how you used to feel. Yeah, and we're letting that go. Why am I walking on this seawall? Because it's on the plan. What if I don't like it? Completely doesn't matter. Irrelevant. The result is that you may feel like you're faking it a bit. Like, why are people at this restaurant? Because they like eating at a restaurant. You? Nothing. You're like an imposter, pretending that's why you're here. That is a normal feeling. Eventually, you will probably like it again, and you'll get there by being there. So that old saying from Alcoholics Anonymous really applies. Fake it until you make it, or do it until you feel it. Watch out for subtle expectations of enjoyment. People often say, well, I'll try it and see. See what? Whether the seawall's still there? It is, right? What they mean is, I'll go and I'll see if it feels like it used to. It won't. Let that go for now, but go anyway.